Good morning, Stitchers, and welcome back to my channel today. It is Jenny of Jenny Stitches, and we are upstairs in the studio today. And it's time to take a look at everything that I have sewn in February. Well, that month flew by rather quickly, didn't it? So last month I gave you the first of this little series of what I've been sewing every month in a bit of a pledge to keep myself a bit more accountable with my personal sewing. And yeah, January was a great month. I think I had 4 finished garments, and February has done quite well too. So if you watched last month's video, you know I introduced you to the box of works in progress that I had. And I'm really pleased to say that I've finished a few of them, which is really, really nice. I did finish filming that video and I thought, maybe I'll get one done, but I actually finished 3 items from the box. So that's really, really good. In fact, I think there's only 1 left in there now, so I'll have to try and get that done in March. But yeah, I hope you're all well. February has sort of flown by in a blur. Obviously, it's a bit shorter than usual, and I've been sort of busy chugging away on various things behind the scenes here in the shop. But yeah, I've been really motivated to get some of these projects finished, because mentally that then sort of makes room for new things that I can sew going forward into spring and summer. So I've got some tea. It's a Wednesday morning, the shop is closed this morning, so we've got time for a bit of a chat. And I'll show you some of the things that I've been making. That is a very good cup of tea. I'm very ready for that this morning. Okay, so I'm going to start off by showing you the item that I'm wearing. And this is the first time that I've worn this garment, so I'm going to have to hop up off this chair and show you. This was an item from the box, and it wasn't the first thing that I made in February, so this is a little bit out of sync, but because I'm wearing it, I'm going to have to show you it first. Now then, it's underneath my cardigan. I've just realised I've got myself in a tangle here because I've got the mic on. Right, quickly hopping up from the chair and just taking my cardigan off there to show you the first item. Now, this isn't the first item that I actually made. We're a little bit out of sequence, but because I'm wearing this today, you're going to be seeing it as we go through, so I figured I would show you this first. So this is from the box, and this is the Megan Nielsen Rowan bodysuit. I'm hoping you can see here that it has a turtleneck and long sleeves, and then it is a bodysuit which is currently tucked into my jeans. Now then, I made the size 14, and this fabric is a ribbed cotton jersey, which I had in stock a couple of years ago now. This was like a bolt end piece, and I'd put that away for myself at the time because it was just the last of stock, and I'd cut it out last year and not had a chance to sew it up. So I've never worked with this particular jersey before, and to all intents and purposes it did behave a lot like a regular cotton jersey. The only sort of difference with it is that it does stretch quite a bit more than usual, being ribbed, which makes sense. Rib knit is very stretchy. I don't have this fabric in stock anymore, but I do have some in the grey colourway, so I will link that to this video in case you're looking for some. So in terms of this actual make and how I feel about it, I would say it's mixed. Obviously I'm wearing it today, it's very comfortable, I'm happy with its sort of wearability, but I don't think that the fit is spot on me, and I think that's for a number of reasons. Firstly because, so I made the size 14 in the Megan Nielsen size chart, which at the time that I cut it out corresponded with my measurements. Since Christmas I have lost a little bit of weight, sort of been looking after myself a bit better, and generally when I lose weight it comes off my top half first, so it is a little bit on the big side. Even when I was sewing it up I looked at it flat and I thought, this looks a little bit on the big side. Like usually with a knit garment, I would expect it to look a bit small because the negative ease would fill it out. So I think you can see here there's quite a bit of room, but it's not a problem. It doesn't make it unwearable. And I do find the sleeve is quite generous. There's quite a lot of fabric in the sleeve. And that maybe, if I was to do it again, could be tapered in. However, I think that brings me to my second point with this one, is that I think with the amount of stretch and give in the fabric, that is possibly contributing to it coming up a bit larger. I think maybe if I was using this fabric again, I would possibly size down to account for the extra give that it has. And I also think that finally it possibly could do with a narrow shoulder adjustment. You can see just how far that is coming over the top of my shoulders there, but I do have quite narrow shoulders, so that's not an unusual adjustment for me. So I had wondered whether this was going to be a sort of out of the packet new TNT kind of t-shirt pattern, and I don't think it is. That doesn't mean I won't revisit this pattern and adjust it, because there's a lot of really good design options on the Rowan tee. You know, you can do it with a crew neck, and you can do short and long sleeves and all sorts of things. Obviously, I've gone with the bodysuit version. So yeah, I would like to try and get the fit a bit more down on this one. In terms of actually making the pattern, it was a really straightforward sew. Let's just get the tee. Very sort of quick and simple. I made it a little bit difficult for myself by melting my elastic at one point, and I did attach, I can always do something, and I did attach the tabs for the gusset upside down. So I had to unpick all that and put them back on, but that was more my not really concentrating than anything to do with the pattern. What I will say for it is it's very generous in the leg in terms of the rise. I have a couple of bodysuits which are ready to wear, and I tend to find that they shrink. So you can imagine that over a prolonged period of wear, that's quite uncomfortable when they're sort of pulling up. But they're also very, very high cut, which, I mean, I'm not going to walk around without my trousers on, so it's not really an issue, but this particular pattern is a lot more generous in the leg. It allows a lot more coverage. So that generally just feels a little bit more secure, a little bit more tucked in. And yeah, it covers my underwear fully, which is lovely. I'm not going to take my trousers off and scare you with that right now, but yeah, on the whole, kind of a 6 out of 10 for this one, I think. I didn't love it as much as I'd hoped to love it, but it's also totally wearable, so it's not a write-off. Okay, so that's the bodysuit. We'll grab some tea and then we'll talk about make number 2. Okay, I am looking out of the window and fearing that a van has just pulled up with a guy with a pneumatic drill in it. So let's just hope and pray that they don't start making a complete racket. Right, so make number 2 is actually the first thing that I finished in February, and that is my Cashmerette Stanton hoodie from the kit and the sew along, which unfortunately didn't get completed last year for technical issues. So there really wasn't very much left to do on the Stanton. I did show you this last month, and it was simply a case of putting the zip in and a little bit of finishing. Sometimes it's the things that you feel are going to be simple that really, really catch you out, and I wouldn't be exaggerating it if I said I'd put that zip in and taken it back out 4 times, and there wasn't really any rhyme or reason for that other than, I don't know. It's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, isn't it? I just couldn't get it to lie straight, so then I'd unpick it and then it wouldn't quite line up, and I was hand tacking it in, and yeah. Anyway, we got there in the end, but sometimes when you just think, oh, there's just a little bit left to do, it ends up so much more than that. However, it is done, and it's very cute, and I am happy with it. And I would say for this pattern, the details involved are really, really lovely. There's some really nice sort of finishing involved where all of your seams are beautifully enclosed and there's a facing on the zipper and all sorts. So, sorry, I hope this doesn't create too much noise rustling about. I'm going to pop that on there. You can see. And there we go. That's the Stanton all finished. Try and step back a little bit so you can see it a bit more full length. But yeah, a very nice basic zip up. We've got pockets as well. I do like that the pockets were fully lined. I thought that was a really nice touch. The hood is is fully lined. That's the look, isn't it? So yeah, very pleased with that in the end. And despite the grappling to get the zip in where I wanted it to be, I think it was worth it in the end. And I'm really glad that it's done. And we can give that a big tick off the list. Okay, let's grab item number 3. Okay, item number 3 is right here with me on Diana, and it is the Tilly and the Buttons Cleo pinafore. Now, I showed you this on the last video, and I had basically constructed the front and pinned the front pocket on. Now, I wouldn't be exaggerating if I said that this make just brought me so much joy. It was a pleasure to sew from start to finish. And in contrast to the hoodie where I had that wrestling match with the zip to begin with, this was exactly what I needed afterwards to just cleanse the palette. So you'd probably be familiar with the Cleo pattern. It was sort of very viral in its heyday. It's a few years old now, but yeah, I've made a couple in the past, and this one I did size up a little bit because the older versions that I had sadly no longer fit. I'm just wondering if I can if I can get this in shot for you. I'm not going to put it on because it's going to require fully getting changed, but let's see if we can. It's fairly well wedged onto her here. I think that's going to be too much hassle to get it off. I'm just going to lift her up and show you. So in terms of the options that I've gone for on this version, we've got the front pocket here, and I think you'll be able to make out that lovely denim top stitching. I don't think anything brings me more satisfaction than a good top stitch, and the combination of a top stitching needle and the Gutterman denim thread is just chef's kiss. It's beautiful. We've got some buttons here holding it on. Very pleased with how those strap tabs lined up. And then you can see at the back, I also opted for the 2 patch pockets at the back, which again are top stitched, and then we've got the slit at the front. So this pinafore really I did just make for a shop sample, and it's doing its job of sitting in the shop at the minute, and yeah, it's a good conversation point. But yeah, very pleased with that one. Again, I'm glad that that's ticked off the list. I don't have this exact denim in stock anymore, but I do have the new 11.7 ounce denim, which is very, very similar in weight. So I will link that below. But yeah, it's a cracker. And we're out of stock of the Cleo pattern at the moment because since I made that one up, a few people have been in and bought the pattern because they've seen it on the mannequin. So I guess it's doing its job. Okay then, so 3 items down, and what have I got to show you next? Yes, Drew. So last month I showed you my Drew sweatshirt and CC joggers, which have been on display in the shop for the last few weeks. They're going to come home with me very soon when we swap over for our spring window displays. But I couldn't resist making another Drew sweatshirt. And that was mostly because I got a big restock of the organic soft sweats, which is also what the Cashmerette Stanton hoodie is made in. And I, in particular, got this beautiful grape colourway back. Now, this colour is obviously a bit of me. So I decided to make the Drew sweatshirt again, but this time in the slightly longer length. And I will pop this one on to show you. I should say that I've just ironed this because it's just come out of the washing. So it's got a few water spots on it where I accidentally pressed the spray button instead of the steam button. The downstairs iron, the buttons are a different way around to the one on the iron upstairs. So I just got confused and squirted water everywhere. So if it's a bit wet, that's why. Okay, just gonna mind this mic. I'll pop it on. Okay, I'm gonna be like one of the like an influencer here and just hold this for a minute. Okay, so this is possibly one of the most basic things ever, and I wouldn't be lying if I said I cut it out at around 1 o'clock on a Wednesday lunchtime, and it was done by the time I went home at 4:30, and that included finishing off the orders for the post and having customers in, because if you're just sewing this on an overlocker, it flies together. It's a raglan sleeve, so you can see that seam here, and then I really like where the neckline sits on this. I think it's just a nice combination of put together casual, and you can see that we've got a good bit more length versus the cropped, which just makes it that a little bit softer for day-to-day wear. If you're not into wearing cropped garments, then that's possibly going to be a better fit for you. It's a bit strange wearing it over a turtleneck, but there we go. I'm going to pop this mic back on. Hope I haven't just switched it off, actually. And we'll leave this one on. But yeah, I really like this. Very, very, very happy with it. And it's been worn multiple times since I made it, which is always a good sign. I think I was wearing it on the live a couple of weeks ago. And we do have plenty of this grape colourway in stock. So yeah, love it. Ribbon coordinates perfectly. 10 out of 10. No further questions. Very happy with that. Okay, last mouthful of tea and last items to talk about. Right, so the last item that I made in February was a bag. And if you're on the mailing list, or if you've watched a couple of the lives, or maybe some of my Instagram stories, you probably have seen this already. And it's a little crossbody bag. And basically how this came about was, we have some leatherette in stock in the shop, and I've never worked with it before. And a customer was asking, is it difficult to sew? And I said, you know what, I've no idea, I've never tried it. And I kept passing it thinking, I'd like to give that a go. So I thought, I'm gonna make a little bag. I've seen a lot of people around and about with little crossbody bags with funky interchangeable straps, and I thought, oh, that would be perfect for that. But instead of finding a pattern, I had a flash of inspiration and decided to just make my own. I literally made this up on the spot. And then I just added a strap, which is pretty simple to make up. So I can report that the leatherette sews up really nicely. It can get a bit tricky when it gets to the bulk, but I was actually very happy with how it's stitched and top stitched. I believe a lot of people will use things like putting a bit of tissue in to stop sliding, or a Teflon foot. I actually found that my machine coped pretty well with it. I maybe had the odd slightly uneven stitch, but actually very pleased with it. So I'm going to show you that zip up close there. And you can see the stitching along the top is nice and neat. So happy with that. Where I did struggle a touch with this one was getting the needle through all these layers on the side. But yeah, I think this is the perfect kind of cute little crossbody bag. So after that experiment, I thought, why not? Let's make this up into a pattern. So I am in the process of writing up the instructions and digitizing the pattern pieces to be able to share this with you. This first version does not have a lining. It's stuffed with pattern tissue, so I knew I had a little bit of work to do there. And I also felt like, I don't know about you, but if I've got a bag like this and I'm out and about, I want a front pocket to slot my phone into. So version 2 came about, and version 2 I actually finished at the weekend, so technically at the start of March, but I'm going to show you and tell you about it now because I think it's interesting to understand this process. So this is version 2 made up in denim. This is the Fabric Godmother Ace Animal Denim. And I knew there were a few changes that I wanted to make from that original iteration. So the first thing that I did was to add this front pocket. And it is now fully lined, so you can see I've just put some black poplin inside here. And actually, just for reference, this is my iPhone 14, I think. I can't remember these days. It's a couple of years old. That just slots perfectly in there. So size-wise, that is exactly right for me. I tend to just put sort of phone and keys in the front pocket of a bag, and then I know exactly where they're at. So I'm happy with how I'd managed to incorporate a zipper into the design. I should just caveat this. I am not a pattern designer. In fact, I'm quite infamous for saying that I just like to follow instructions. So actually designing something from scratch is a bit bonkers for me. The second change that I made with this one was to also try just making it a little bit wider. I think this is now too wide. So for context, next to the original, you can see that this one is a good bit thicker. And to me, it feels more like a makeup bag than a crossbody bag. I don't think it helps that that leatherette fabric has a lot more structure. But yeah, I prefer the width of that one. So my next sample will adjust that back. With this one, I have to show you the inside and take out. It's got some nice sweatshirt scraps inside to stuff it out. With this one, I have put a full lining in, and let me tell you, trying to work out how to line a bag like this involved some serious head scratching. And at the weekend, Julie, who's my shop assistant, we were sort of working it out, and we got there in the end. I didn't want it to be where you bind the seams. I don't like binding seams. It's an unpleasant task. So this is fully lined, and it is just pinned in at the bottom because that's where it would be hand stitched, but that's not happening because this is just a sample. But you can see we've managed to fully get the lining stitched down inside, and that really helps it to hold its structure. But just the logistics of how that happened really had me, my brain was spooled up to the maximum, shall we say. So that's iteration number 2. So I think following this, I'm going to just take a little bit of that depth out. And yeah, and then we're going to move on to sewing, getting that ready for a bit of a pattern test. And yeah, I'll keep you updated on where that's at. It is named, it will be the Juliet crossbody bag. I've named it for my daughter, who took quite an interest in that silver bag. I took it home. When I'd finished it, I took it home to show her, and she was going to her school Valentine's disco, and she was like, I'm going to take that bag with me. I'm like, no, you can't just take the bag. I was like, the strap isn't even finished. The strap is literally just pinned in with clips, but you can't take this. But yeah, she basically wanted it off me. So I think that this original version is going to have to go to her. But yeah, I'll keep you posted on that. Very sort of different angle of things for me. So in summary, I think for the month of February, I'm very pleased with all of those makes. It's really good to get a lot of that box sorted out. The only one that's left now is the noodle head oxbow tote in the smaller size. I'm not sure whether I'll make that in March because I've clearly got a fair bit of bag making to be getting on with, but we'll see. I might be fancying some projects that are not bag based with the amount of work that's going into developing that bag pattern there. Hats off to people that design patterns, because there's so much work. And this is just a simple little bag rather than a complicated garment. It really does make you think. But yeah, really happy with that. I think in March I'm going to have a look at maybe adding a couple more separates to the wardrobe. I'm not quite feeling dresses just yet, but the weather is changing, it's getting brighter, it's not really getting warmer yet, so I'm still sort of clinging on to jeans just because it's warmer whilst I'm at work. The shop can get quite cold, it's a big space. But that being said, as new fabrics are arriving, I'm seeing different bits of inspiration all the time. So no plans, it's set in stone for March. We're just going to see where the fabric takes us. But anyway, thank you for joining me today. Thank goodness there isn't any pneumatic drilling taking place outside. That would have been very inconvenient. Do let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the bag. Let me know which was your favourite make, any thoughts. Yeah, drop them in the comments. It'd be great to catch up. But thank you for joining me. I will see you next month, and we'll see how I get on in March. Take care, happy sewing, bye bye.